Hello, my name's Pete Ashby and thank you very much for looking at this video on leading entrepreneurial teams. Now I'm picturing you as a chief exec who feels comfortable with the term entrepreneur. That's how you think you are, that's how you think you're built. I must admit, I used to assume for quite some time that if you're an entrepreneur, you would have an entrepreneurial team, by definition. One would go with the other. And I needed to work with a few teams before I said to myself, this doesn't seem to be happening. We've got a really entrepreneurial CEO, but the team is a bit boring and they just don't work together and they're not really a team. And then, as happens with these things, one day I said to myself, I know why, because the entrepreneurial CEO is so out there, so into doing and achieving and so hungry for the business and making things happen. And the team gets the residue. The team gets a small bit of your energy that's left after the rest of the world has got the lion's share. And I now believe that to have an entrepreneurial executive team, you as an entrepreneurial CEO need to let your entrepreneurship loose on your team. And I've got 6 suggestions for how you might do that. I hope at least some of them work for you, and they're simply brought in the spirit of being ambitious for you to have a team that really resonates with your entrepreneurial leadership instincts. Proposition number 1 is that you should deformalize as much as you can. I think it's really good to be out of the closet on the fact that you don't like formal meetings. Entrepreneurs don't like time and meetings unless we're absolutely convinced it's got to happen. Say to your team that every item that comes to an exec meeting needs to be justified in terms of why everyone else needs to be in on that. That you expect stuff routinely to be dealt with by email or by conversation. That you see them as standing in their authority as executive leaders. That's why they're paid good money. That you want them to get on, refer back to you, tell you what they plan to do when they need to. Your word is your bond. You expect it to just progress and for them to manage the business without bringing any day-to-day stuff to meetings. You don't want dumping. You don't want unnecessary updating. So that's the starting position, the entrepreneur starting position. Own it, share it. You like informality, you like movement forward, and you don't like time wasting in meetings. So that's absolutely starting point. And I hope you think, yep, so far that's fine by me. Deformalize as much as you can. However, that leads on to number 2. On big stuff, we all need to be in on it. Now, I think this is where you need to challenge yourself on how much you really want your exec directors to work as a team. We know you will have good one-to-one links with each of them, and some will obviously be stronger than others. The key thing is how much they feel that as a team, they are in on key discussions with you as their CEO, to whom they're very loyal, key discussions with you that critically affect the future of your organization. And my proposition to you is they have got to feel that to really give you added value as part of your executive leadership team. What I think you need to say to them is, on big stuff we all need to be in on it, yes, but bring your entrepreneur with you to a team meeting. Don't bring your defensive territorial, oh, well, really, I'm here for my own sub-team. I'm here to talk about my bit of the organisation. You don't want that. Everyone in on a team meeting, an exec team meeting, is there for the big ticket. They're there for an overview like you. They are not just there as a sort of tribal leader. They're there for the entrepreneurial challenge of supporting you and each other in moving on with the big stuff. Okay. So far so good, I hope. Let me now move on to number 3, which is very much, I think, a challenge to you. Number 3, the proposition is that on big stuff, we don't jump too quickly. I think we've got to be honest. Most entrepreneurs, the great gift you have is you're hungry, you want things sorted, you have a tendency to impatience. Once it's clear in your mind, you can also get quite irritated by other people spending a lot longer than you on finding their level of clarity. If your team think you've made up your mind about something, they will tend to go into agreeable, go along with the CEO mode. They won't challenge you. Why challenge you if they think you as chief exec have sorted out what you want to happen? They won't. And that's why I think on the big stuff, you've got to be very careful, even though you all might have spoken to your chair and individuals about it, you're very careful to say to your team, I want us in on a creative process that we all contribute to, where we really challenge ourselves and each other about the best thing for us as an organisation. Now, two things I think need to happen for that to work. Number one, you need to make clear disagreement, even if you don't like, quote, conflict, disagreement is a necessary part of the creative process. If they care passionately and believe in something, you want that to come through. It's not personal, this is about ideas. And you want healthy, challenging debate on the big issues for you as an organisation. And number two, you don't want to go too quickly from opening debate to decision on the big stuff. I think one of the real problems in team cultures is people think, not a very good meeting this morning, only took 3 decisions. I think the best discussions sometimes don't take a decision. They create options. They give the reflectors in your team stuff to take away and think on. They give you chance to regroup and rethink. So I would say create a process. As an entrepreneur, you could say, for example, right, the ops director is really keen on something. Roger, next Monday, I want us all to have an hour, make a pitch to us. We'll take it apart, as we all like doing, Roger. And at the end, we'll just take that away and all sleep on it. And the following Monday, I want another hour, and I want another member of the team to come up with something else. I want option 2. We won't decide now who's going to do that. We'll hear Roger's pitch. I'll have a word with each of you, and we'll find a way to open this up and get someone else to give us option number 2 the following Monday after Roger's opened it up. You create a process in which there is space legitimately for people to hold different views. That's the richness of saying our creative time as a team is really focused on the big stuff, and we keep the day-to-day sort of trivia out of it. Okay, so I think if you can do that, that has a tremendous impact in winning their loyalty to you, and also for you, enhancing the quality of your decisions on the really big strategic challenges. Now, number 4, slight change in gear, but to me it's really important to the right energy among your team. Number 4 is very simple, and it's very few words, and they're very fundamental. We got it wrong. I think if something comes up and a member of the team has a bit of a car crash on something, someone screws up, as we all screw up, they're feeling a bit unsure about it, what happens if it's discussed at the team, what will the CEO think? They need to know your starting position is when something goes wrong, you are all in on it, you in particular. And indeed, you would make a point of raising the issue and saying, hey, that session with the suppliers last week, or whatever it might be, we got it a bit wrong there. Now, let's have a bit of a discussion. What lessons do we want to learn from that? Obviously, it was building up for a while. It was all brewing. How can we take something away from this so we are not in that position again? Now, on one level, it's easy for you because entrepreneurs, what are entrepreneurs about? Every success is built on 15 failures. Everything goes wrong all the time. We're learning through screwing up. It's all developmental. That's how it is. We never quite arrive at where we want to be. But you need, for your team, some of them who will be cautious and can go to ego when things go wrong, to always be volunteering the fact that there's something there that you want the team to take away and to learn from. And their loyalty to you, knowing you will not point the finger and you will take on your responsibility. You'll say, look, we all underperform. Everyone. The more we want to be top performers, the more we have to talk about our underperforming. That's how it is, guys. The more you're in that space, the more they will really feel they can absolutely trust you as their supportive but challenging team leader. Number 5 is sort of the other side of the same coin, but I think is important to say in its own right. Here again, 4 words. You got it right. I think too few entrepreneurs give time in team meetings to acknowledging individuals who went the extra mile and really achieved something distinctive. When I've in my coaching work, but sometimes I challenge people afterwards. I say, hey, you could have mentioned that. They say, no. They know I think they're great. Or no, they're paid the money for that, or whatever it might be. And I say, no, actually, if you want to stretch these guys and really push them and be the demanding leader that you are, which is great, just be careful you don't project onto them the real toughness you sometimes apply to yourself, because that's what you do, as we know. You're very, very tough on yourself, and sometimes you don't quite give them the slack and the recognition that you need to give them. And it's not good enough sometimes just in a one-to-one. There's nothing better if you're an exec director and you really bust your gut on something and boy, you got there. It was absolutely fabulous. If your chief exec to say at the next team meeting, by the way, Pete, that was a brilliant moment last Tuesday. That was really, I know you worked your arse off on that and you really got a result. That sort of thing is worth $1 million. We know why you don't do it. A lot of chief execs don't do it because they feel they have favourites and they feel their favouritism will be exposed. That's the real reason, we know that. So I'd say you just need to be self-aware of how you manage that across your team. But it just seems to me that a real honest culture of being open about underperformance requires real recognition by you of overperformance, and the two need to go in harmony. Sixth and final point, which I want to put in because I think it's crucial to getting better linkages across your exec directors, and this is simply the proposition that all execs are troubleshooters for each other. Why do I put that in as the final point? Because I would say to you, even if you have team meetings that occasionally do some good brainstorming creative work together, which is a great plus, you will probably find that their individual one-to-one links with you as their CEO are stronger than their links across the team. If that's the case, even though you might have a fairly fluid, non-hierarchical structure, you will have rivalries between some of their different senior members of their teams, because the way loyalty goes is people tend to be fiercely loyal to their own team leader. So a charismatic exec director will have members of their team who feel very, very protective of their own director. We know that. Two great virtues of the troubleshooting role. Number one, to say to your exec directors, if you hit a tricky patch with your team when you're working something through, I ask you to bring in one of your peers, another exec director, having said to your team, hey, I'm going to ask so-and-so to come in and give us an hour. We'll play back to them where we got to, and they will actually help move us on to the next stage because we haven't quite got it, and we need to make sure we don't get stuck and keep on moving forward. Involve them with your team. Let your team see occasionally the force of the bond between you and other exec directors. It's tremendously important for senior staff appreciating the sense of oneness that you are committed to among your team. Number two, we all know brilliant entrepreneurs, however brilliant they might be, have blind spots. The better you are at some things, as night follows day, the more iffy you'll be at some other things. So to say to your exec team, look, each of you has certain exceptional gifts. I know that is why I'm very privileged to lead you as a team. I don't want you to have to pretend you're great at everything when there are certain things where you have distinctive leadership skills. So if you take an area where you're not so strong, feel you can invite someone else in. For example, if in your team, two members of your team have had a bit of an ongoing spat, they've got rivalries, they've got in a habit, you've tried to sort it and you haven't, you're not very good at that sort of stuff, you're not a natural mediator, knocker of heads together, you don't quite do it, but someone else is brilliant at that. Say to those two members of your team, by the way, I've had a word with Sarah. I've told her the three of us haven't quite sorted out this that's getting in the way of the team. Sarah's going to come in, have a bit of time, the two of you, and then with the three of us, are going to help us leave it behind. Wow. Just think, A, the statement that exec director is making to their peer, to Sarah, about Sarah's gifts and skills. And secondly, the statement that director is making to their team members who got trapped in a rather sterile bit of conflict that has slowed up some debates at the team. Another team member is helping you move on. And Sarah then does that. Sarah reciprocates, and across the team, exec directors are told by you, you are there, guys, to support each other. You value each of them, but you want the specialness of their gifts to shine through, because you are seen to be the lead champion of them in team meetings. You are seen to be absolutely honest and open about their great gifts and bits they're not so good at, and you expect them between themselves to troubleshoot. And so they make sure that nothing gets stuck for too long. And that's why I think, to me, the key to letting your entrepreneur loose on your team is you make sure that the creative ideas flow through the team, and all those little bits of personal chemistry and team dynamics, when they don't work, you are using entrepreneurial instincts to unlock any log jams and keep it flowing through. So I would just say to you, as an entrepreneurial leader, if you're putting 95% of your being out there, hang on to a bit more for your team. When you invest that entrepreneurial instinct into your team, you will unleash a joint creativity which will give you immense benefit. And at the end of the day, when you put on your website, as so many do, we work as a single team, challenge yourself. Do we really do that? And if you're an entrepreneurial CEO, then that entrepreneurial team is worth fighting for and energizing and re-energizing. And the benefit it will give you as a true top-performing team will be awesome. I hope this is of some help, doubtless to be returned to in future videos. Thank you ever so much for your time now.